What's up, crypto fam? I'm gonna take another look at the markets. Always start off with the fear and greed index because I think it's a really good indicator. Um, the fearful territory is sometimes some of the best times to buy, um, but I think it's a really good, realistic picture of kind of where the market's at. If you tend to follow trends on crypto Twitter, um, most of most of the people that um, are popular in the space are wrong. Majority of the time, they kind of just go with the trend, and the trend is your friend. Don't get me wrong, but they kind of just preach what the trend is and call for further lows when we're in a downward trend, even if we're starting a reversal, and vice versa for the upward trend. They they tend to get it wrong a lot. There's a couple really decent traders out there, but I think it's definitely a minority population um, that is doing it for the sake of actual um, technical analysis versus just getting followers and getting the additional benefits that come with that. So that said, the fear and greed index I thought would be going down some from yesterday. Yesterday was at 23, but we kind of ticked up a little bit, and we're just chilling in the 20s area. I think it's mostly due to Biden coming out and slapping sanctions on Russia. I think a lot of people really favored that, and were extremely happy to see it. As was I. I mean, I think they all need to pay a price for what they're pushing on people. There are people in subways, and they can't even afford to get out of the country. They can't get to ATMs to take money out. The gas stations are all messed up. People are living in the subways to shelter themselves from the bombings. It's it's so sad to see. And he's just sitting behind his desk calling shots, right? So I'm not even sure he's getting told accurate information from the people that advise him. But yeah, hopefully the punishing acts that the allied countries are pushing against him will be felt sooner rather than later, and he changes course and changes direction. But obviously, the speech was good enough that it turned the S&P around, it turned crypto around. People were very happy to hear that consequences are, being pushed out for the actions that he's taking. So, I think that's the reason for the slight uptick, as well as the market's doing well. And for the market's doing well, obviously, the fear and greed moves its way up. But this is a Bitcoin chart. I drew this forever ago. I've had this support zone, or was our support zone, is now our resistance zone. Change the color here, make it a little bit easier to see. I think this is going to be resistance. I know 40,000. Obviously, I have alerts set up for it. I know 40,000 is going to be a key area just because of the way the human mind works. Even numbers tend to build orders. So, even when I am trading, obviously not financial advice, but if I'm putting in buy orders or sell orders, I'll choose odd numbers. Instead of selling at 40,000, I'll sell at 39, 549, 546. Just random intervals in place, because those have a lot better chance of selling than 40,000 on the button. So yeah, the key areas are always ones to watch out for, but I think what was a previous support zone, is now going to be a resistance zone for us. So I think anywhere in the 41, looks like almost just about 42 to 43K region, we'll get some downward pushes as we try to breach that. I've pointed this out before, but I think if we blast through this, that's pretty bullish. This is where I would be considering getting back into Bitcoin. Another bullish move would be if we go through 40,000, we push down here, come back up and reclaim it, and then even come back down and retest it, and then make a further move up. This is one of the most bullish things that we can do, because it's us creating a support level, retesting the support level. The support level saves us, and then we continue upward momentum. That would be fantastic to see, and I would be absolutely, a fan of that. I'd be very interested in buying at that point, myself personally. So that's what I'll be watching out for. I think the news is still going to play a big role. I'm not sold that everyone's okay with the speech that Biden made. I think there's still a lot of uncertainty, and Putin's continuing the attacks tonight even. I think there's just too many uncertainties that are being added to the world for me to feel really confident in any type of high-risk asset at the moment. Although I will say, this is my belief that because of all the uncertainty with the war in Ukraine and the gas prices going up, and people's utility bills being through the roof, I think the Fed is going to calm down on the interest rate hikes. I don't think they can take a look at all this news and everything going on right now and think now's the time to hike the interest rates, because I think they know with that will be punishing on the markets when the markets are just barely starting to recover their losses. Now's not really the time to make interest rates higher at a crazy degree. They can still increase the interest rates, but just slow and steady, as opposed to a more drastic measure, which some people think that they may do. I'm hoping with all the uncertainty in the world that they do scale that back some. So that's something I'll be watching. I hope it becomes true, but yeah, I guess time will tell. So let's look at a daily chart for Bitcoin, see if it looks any better. Yeah, it doesn't look okay. So yeah, this doesn't look bad. You could say that our support here looks like it held. Looks like they tried to get breached 1, 2, almost 3 times, push through, but overall, we have a higher support down here that I think saved us at the 35K region. But that said, I'm hoping that today we start testing the 40K region. That's assuming that nothing crazier comes out with the Ukraine news. Yeah, so that's something I'll be watching. I don't see... It's really dangerous to get into altcoins when you're uncertain of what Bitcoin's going to do. Just because Bitcoin crashes and it will bring everything down with it. That saying, if you push someone in the pool, they're going to go in, you're going to come with me. When Bitcoin gets shoved into the pool, all the altcoins go with it for the most part. There's some exceptions to the rule, but if you're going to look at anything, I would prefer looking at something that has, like Joule here, when days that Bitcoin does well, has a 2% gain, Joule has a 2% gain, Joule has a 10% gain. Looking at alts where those correlations exist, that's just the existence of, or the correlation today. I don't follow Jewel too closely to know if that's common, but you kind of want to look at anything that multiplies the Bitcoin gains on a green day for Bitcoin. But for the most part, I'm keeping my hands off until it makes a more Bitcoin makes a clearer decision on the pattern or the trend that it's going to start following. I'm going to stick to what I said yesterday, and that is, I believe that there's going to have to be a momentum shift in the Ukraine global crises to see a real momentum shift in high-risk assets. So maybe that is the sanctions being slapped against them over and over. I think it's really assuring to see so many countries allied together against Russia. I think that's really good for the world to see, that a lot of countries are, kind of doing self-sacrificing things for the overall goal of punishing Russia for what it's doing to Ukraine. So I do hope this trend continues. I'll be for sure watching it closely. This is the news article that I mentioned a little bit earlier. One of the primary catalysts behind the Fed's rate hike plan was a steady recovery in jobs in the U.S. markets. But with a lesser than expected ADP readings, the central banks could backtrack on tightening their plans. They've moved from nearly all talk to little action to 100% hot air. Some Fed officials have also noted that central banks might not go ahead with the rate hikes as aggressively as anticipated, which would be great news for crypto. So yeah, I'll be watching this very closely. I know a lot. There's quite a few people in Russia that own cryptocurrency. I think 15% of Russia owns some sort of cryptocurrency. So these sanctions, hopefully they work. That while adoption would be fantastic, you don't really want adoption for a regime such as Russia to continue what they're doing and receive funds in another way. If the whole globe had adopted Bitcoin, that'd be a different story, right? They can still get their money, but there's other ways that they can punish them. Imports, exports, things like that. So, yeah, I'll be watching closely both markets. I think that our recovery is better than the S&Ps right now, but I think we're still correlated. S&P recovers, we recover. We crash, S&P crashes. I think it was very. I think the S&P was lucky that they were closed over the weekend. I'll say that. I think them being closed was for sure a saving grace, especially with all the uncertainty that happened over the 3-day weekend for them. 3 days. They were off Saturday, Sunday, Monday for the stock market. So, yeah, I think it was a very good time for them to be closed. The S&P 500, this is a weekly chart of theirs. It's still trending downward. It could only continue this absolutely crazy pattern for so long without some type of pullback, right? This is insane. This is since March of 2020, so almost 2 years of just growth over time. It's starting to peel back some right now, but you can see that it's going to start hitting some support levels that at least it has set up in some structure for us to fall into. But yeah, I think we are still correlated. I think it's getting less and less correlated as Bitcoin continues to grow. But that correlation does still exist. I think that we just I'm sitting on my hands at this point, but I think we take a close watch of Bitcoin, close watch of the news that's happening. Hopefully, country state ally against Russia and continue pushing these tight sanctions on them in a meaningful way that's targeted to, hurt the people in power, not the citizens, because it's not their fault. Yeah, and hopefully we try some retests of the 40K region. That'd be great. I hope we break through this resistance zone. Hopefully the resistance zone doesn't take that much to chew through. Maybe it won't be as bulky as I think it is, and we fly right through it. I think there is a good amount of resistance here that's going to push us down with at least a few attempts before we can break through, but I'm hoping for a reversal and a recovery. So yeah, that's what I'll be watching close. There's no altcoins that are really popping off outside of Jewel, but Jewel's kind of finding its home right now. It's such a new currency. There's not any structures really set up for this sucker. It doesn't know. It's almost impossible to chart, just because it just doesn't have enough time for us to know exactly what its worth is, what structures can be set up for resistance and support zones. So I think the overall goal of this is just continue to watch the news, continue to watch Bitcoin. I don't think now is the time to ape into any decisions. It's not financial advice, but I personally am just kind of sitting on my hands and waiting to see where this plays out, because we've had instances of this where everything looks like sunshine and rainbows, and then we just nuke hard. Kind of when people are least expecting it or not wanting to expect it. So as much as I would like to see a bunch of the perma bears on crypto Twitter eat their words, because they love saying how bad we're going to be bleeding, how strong the bear market is, and their messages come out 4, 5, 6 fold when things aren't looking good, especially when there's a war being declared. Like markets ever do well when war is being declared on the first night, mind you, and they're all celebrating that the market's going down like they expected. They would have been better off to call the war. So I'll be watching this closely. I'll be watching the Fear and Greed Index. 27 today, which is... This is good. This is manageable. And my prayers go to the people in Ukraine. I hope this gets resolved much sooner rather than later, although I think this is going to drag out for an ugly amount of time, unfortunately. But I'll leave you with the weekly chart here. I think we have a strong support down the 35K, 34K region that's been holding us up. Outside of that, 29 to 30K. I think we have an area of holding. I believe it's on the daily chart, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not as strong as the weekly supports that are holding us up right now. But support, right? Take what we can get. And then I think once Bitcoin makes its decision on trend, I'll start charting a lot more of the altcoins, unless I get some requested. If I post all these videos on YouTube, or if you follow me, you send me messages, what have you, I'm more than happy to chart anything out with these kind of buy, support, resistance zones. Because I think it's the easiest way to look at the market. The lines do great, the ascending triangles, the cup and handles, done them all, but I don't think anything's better than just seeing buy and resistance zones, because you don't want to be buying at 39K when there's resistance at 40, right? That doesn't make a ton of sense. Obviously, you can do what you want with your money. Not financial advice, but I wouldn't be buying 39K when there's strong resistance at 40 and 42,000. I'd be waiting for it to clear some of those before I get interested. Always, buy support and sell resistance. You don't do the opposite. Don't buy into resistance. Don't sell in to support. So, yeah, I'll be watching this very closely over the couple days. Next couple days, I'm hoping for great news in the markets. I'm hoping for great news with the Ukraine crisis. I hope Putin wets his pants at night because I think he's a little fairy. And yeah, I hope it gets resolved. So that's all I got for today. Hopefully the interest rates news becomes reality and we don't get any crazy hikes. My fingers are crossed. I don't think anybody wants to have interest rates hike right now, especially with oil and gas companies kind of gouging the market on fears, not even based off of the price of oil's gone up some, but they're going to gouge people for profits. It's just what they do. Yeah. So watch the news, watch Bitcoin, watch these resistance levels if we do keep moving up. And I'll catch you all tomorrow. Till then, have a great night. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great day tomorrow. And I'll catch you tomorrow night. Peace.